my great honour over the course of now, I suppose, many years to work with politicians from the unionist community who have played, I think, an invaluable role in working with the rest of us to bring the situation to where it is today. And throughout all of that period, important new relationships have sprung up. And I think that there is a level of trust there that has never been there before, with an absolute commitment from everybody that the only way forward is for all of us to work together. And that's why I'm very pleased that John McAllister is here with us this evening on the platform. Many people know in the cut and thrust of democracy and politics, we don't always agree with everything that others stand for. And that's what democracy is all about, different views. And our ability as human beings to be big enough to accept that not everybody thinks as we do, and not everybody has the same allegiances as we have, but everybody has the absolute right to express their views and to be listened to with respect and dignity. And I have no reason to believe that anything other than that would be accorded to John in the course of this evening. I think the last 5 years have seen a step change in peace and politics in the north of Ireland. And we have completed the first full term of an inclusive power sharing executive in the history of this state. Only this week we published the programme for government, our economic strategy and our investment strategy for the years ahead. And it's quite clear that all of the parties recognise, as a result of the Assembly elections, which were held in May of this year, that the very clear message that came from the electorate was that we all have to work together. And those parties who have expressed the desire to work together, I think, will be rewarded by the electorate, because that is my very, very firm view of where the electorate is coming from. They want to see us deal with vitally important issues that affect their lives. And that's why in the course of the work of this week, we had one of the most important executive meetings that we've had in the last 5 years, with incredible agreement on the programme for government and on the investment strategy and the economic strategy, with no minister voting against, as all of those documents go out for consultation for people to respond by February of next year. And in these papers we're dealing with vitally important issues affecting our people, hoping to promote something like 25,000 new jobs. We've agreed on the review of public administration with a reduction in councils from 26 to 11. The establishment of a single education and skills authority. All of these bring huge cost saving which can be used for many other aspects of governmental life. The relocation of the Department of Agriculture out of Belfast to a rural constituency. The double glazing of all housing executive houses, particularly at a time of fuel poverty and when older people are finding it very difficult to heat their houses, and indeed many others. Small Businesses Relief Scheme up to 2015. £50 million fund for small and medium enterprises, loan fund. The establishment of a social investment fund to deal with deprivation in some of the most disadvantaged areas of the north. A social protection fund which deals with the impact of the cuts that have come from London in terms of welfare, to support people who find it very, very difficult to face the challenges that that will represent. 8,000 new social and affordable homes. The building, and this is very important from the construction industry, of a new GAA stadium in Belfast. And of course the refurbishment of the soccer facilities and rugby facilities. The very important project of Longcash May site, an iconic site, one which will see hopefully the relocation of the Royal Ulster Agricultural Society to that site. And of course the establishment also of a Peace and Conflict Transformation Centre, which will see visitors come from all parts of the world to learn from our experiences. And of course we've also decided a range of measures to deal with poverty and how we can impact on poverty, including in rural areas, and of course child poverty as well. And taking a decision that there be no water charges imposed during the lifetime of this Assembly, and that student fees will be pinned to the inflation rate as opposed to the hikes that people are seeing in England and in Wales. So all of that, I think, is hugely important, including 1 year of preschool education for every family that desires it. So that's about delivery, and it has been well received, and it's been well received because all of the political parties have played a very positive and constructive role, but also because those people who examine these papers have recognised that a real effort has been made to deliver for people and to deliver in a way that makes people's lives better. So we have faced challenges within and outside of the political process, and we've met those challenges and have maintained working institutions which I believe deliver for all of our people. And I think there remains a strong unity of purpose across parties to build on the achievements of the Executive and the Assembly and to strengthen our relationships and build on our agreements. In this term, we face the need to deliver for all of our people in the face of very significant economic challenges. And these challenges are global, they're national and they're regional, and they are interlinked and they impact on everybody within our community. Nationally, we have the continual fallout from the banking crisis in the south. 2 of our 4 banks are owned by the Irish government, and we could see in excess of £6 billion worth of assets in the north being part of NAMA. And we have the continual fluctuations with the exchange rates that create economic swings and roundabouts for business along the border, which people in this area, in Newry and Dundalk, will know all about. All of these uncertainties impact negatively on every citizen on this island. Regionally, we have the imposition of the Tory-led fiscal policy in our economy without any real consideration of their impact. The policies being pursued reflect the economic situation of Britain and England in particular. And as our economy accounts for less than 3% of British GDP, it's not surprising that we do not register in their economic thinking. There's no support for their agenda here among any of the political parties, and yet they seek to impose it on us. And of course, they've also set aside important financial commitments given in the lead up to the St Andrews talks to address the legacy of underinvestment in infrastructure and conflict. And I think that position is a disgrace. The size of the economic challenges that we face, I believe, are not insurmountable. The political process, I think, demonstrates that progress is always possible. The scale of political change achieved over the past number of years, I think, has lessons for our economic future. And the first is to believe that change is possible. The second is to face up to the reality of the situation. Our economic needs don't register with the policymakers in London. What can have, I believe, the biggest impact on our economy is the situation in the south, because our economies are interconnected and they are interdependent. And this is not a political aspiration, but it is a statement of economic fact. We believe that greater cooperation across Ireland will deliver more for all of our people than the existing competition between our regions. And given that economic reality, Sinn Féin believes a frank and open and objective discussion to develop an all-Ireland plan to promote jobs, economic growth, innovation and export threatens no one's identity and indeed benefits all of us. I think in recent years there's been an ever-increasing willingness by unionists, particularly those in the business community, to look sensibly at greater all-Ireland working, which benefits us all. The real politic of delivering proper healthcare, education, and in other areas like infrastructure mean that increasingly political unionism must look to all-Ireland cooperation as a sensible way forward in delivering effective public services. Only yesterday, the North-South Ministerial Council met in Armagh with much of the discussion on the economy and on infrastructural developments like the A5. And the work on the A5 has now gone out to officials to decide on the funding and implementation plan of what is a very important North-South route. So the route we take to recovery must look beyond the old economic system and to the ability of the 32 counties to contribute to a sustainable and competitive economy. The increase in cross-border trade, banking and insurance regulation, and the potential of an all-Ireland energy market have demonstrated the interlinked and interdependent nature of economies north and south. The private sector, I think, have moved ahead of the Dáil and the Assembly, reflecting the reality that the all-island economy makes good business sense. There are just over 6.4 million people on our island. Existing economic strategies north and south are targeted at high-value, high-cost jobs and innovation, research and development. Yet we have two separate education systems and disjointed and uncoordinated third-level sectors and isolated industries. So this situation, I believe, is bad economics, it is bad politics, and it is bad for ordinary people, whether they're unionist, nationalist, republican or loyalist. I believe that our party is the only party that has consistently advocated for the tax variant and borrowing powers to stimulate growth and deliver social justice. We have continually called for and will support the harmonisation of corporation tax across the island of Ireland to promote growth. We will go further and seek the power to develop a flexible approach to taxation and incentives to promote economic growth, research and development and social justice. So we face considerable economic challenges and opportunities in time ahead. All in our community, I believe, expects and are entitled to have prosperity, and for that prosperity to be shared. So we need an economy that delivers for all. The political agreements that we have reached define a dynamic approach to relations within the North and across the island that can and do deliver for all without changing our identities or our core beliefs. So we now need to build economic agreements that allow for the same dynamic and flexible approach. Agreements that recognise that the greatest economic challenge and opportunity does come on an all-island basis, and we need to approach this issue in an imaginative and pragmatic way and look fully and objectively of the benefits of greater cooperation. So we need to look beyond the immediate and look into the future. I think people have also seen the political challenges that we have faced and overcome, which have confounded many in the course of the last 5 years. And we need to believe that change is the only option. We now need to see courage and innovative thinking from all sections of our community to meet these economic challenges head on. Over the past 4 years, I've been centrally involved in the process of working with investors. We've delivered significant investment, including where we are here today. I fully understand that the needs of business, the needs of the community, and the opportunities that exist. We now need to fully realise these opportunities, to be open to new ways of working and new structures. So for our part, I believe that we've led on political progress, and we will bring the same approach, the same energy and innovation to delivering an economy for all of our people. One of the most striking things that was said to both Peter Robinson and myself in the course of the last couple of years was when we attended an economic investment conference at the State Department in Washington, which was sponsored by Secretary of State Clinton and also by President Obama. And in one of the side meetings that we did with a number of very important potential investors, one man who was from Chicago and involved with a very major multinational company said a very, very striking thing. He said, I look at a place where there's 1.6 million people and I don't get excited. But I look at a place where there's over 6 million people and I do get excited. And I think that says it all in terms of how we need to move forward. And I believe we can do that without anybody surrendering any of the political allegiances. It makes sense. And I believe it's the only way to go. So I hope that tonight's deliberations and the conversations that we're having will open up that debate in a way that sees the political process and those people who are involved in the political process recognise that many business people north and south are moving ahead of us in terms of recognising the gains that can be made for their companies. What we now need to do is ensure that whatever gains are going to be made are made not just for companies but in terms of employing people, giving people jobs, giving people prosperity and a proper standard of living. So it's been great to be here. Thank everybody for coming. particularly again John McAllister and those who have had the courage to put their head above the parapet and contribute to this very important debate. Gurumila, Mila Mayago.